so much of my life has been determined by that one decision to get out of that truck.
Have you ever heard of a man disappearing only to reappear days later with an outlandish tale of alien abduction? Let's delve into the intriguing story of Travis Walton. A logger by profession, Walton was working in the dense, eerie woods of Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona. The date, November 5th, 1975. A day that would etch itself into the annals of mystery. But here's the kicker. Walton wasn't alone. He was in the company of fellow loggers, men as grounded and hardy as they come.
From the time I got out of the truck and left the crew, they were yelling at me to get away from there. It was a rather impulsive thing to do, and I was regretting it almost as quickly as I did it. And the things that they were saying and the feeling of impending danger, even some of the guys in the truck said that it just felt like something was about to happen.
Their colleague vanished into thin air, but not before they all spotted an inexplicable flying object in the sky, an object that defied their understanding of reality. So we come to the question that has confounded minds for decades. What exactly happened on that fateful night in the forest? Imagine being in the woods and suddenly a UFO appears right before your eyes. This is precisely the predicament that Travis Walton and his crew of loggers found themselves in one fateful evening in the deep forest of Arizona.
It just came so fast, stopped right over the top of us. It was, the closer it got, we could see that it was 3 lights, not one. A light on each corner of this giant triangle, and I mean gigantic. It was unbelievably huge.
Picture this, 7 men, rugged and hardened by their line of work, staring agape at a luminous object hovering in the air, its glow piercing the darkness of the night. Now let's delve a bit deeper into this encounter. The object they saw wasn't just a mere flicker of light, no, it was a tangible metallic craft, unidentifiable and yet undeniably present. It was a sight that defied everything they knew, everything they thought possible. But it was there, and it was real. Among the group, Walton, driven by a mix of curiosity and bravery, decided to approach the object to get a closer look. But as he neared, something happened that would forever change his life. A beam of light, intense and blinding, shot out from the craft and struck him. The rest of the group could only watch in horror as their friend was enveloped in this blinding light, before he seemingly disappeared into thin air. Fear took over. Panic set in. The rest of the group, their minds reeling from what they had just witnessed, fled the scene in terror. They left behind the eerie glow of the unidentified flying object and their friend who had been standing just moments before. Once they had gathered their wits, they returned to the site, hoping against hope that what they had seen was just a figment of their imagination. But Walton was nowhere to be found. The woods were silent, save for the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. One moment Walton was there, the next, he was gone. But where did he go? The question hung in the air, as tangible as the fear that gripped them. This was no ordinary disappearance. This was an encounter of the third kind, and it was just the beginning. 5 days later, a disoriented and frail Travis Walton reappeared. His reappearance was as mystifying as his sudden departure. Miles away from where he was last seen, Travis was found in a pitiful state. His body was weak, his mind swirling in confusion. Time, it seemed, had played a cruel trick on him. In his mind, only a few hours had slipped by since his strange encounter. Yet the world around him had moved on, days turning into nights, nights into days.
Some people have speculated that there may have been some sort of time contraction perception on my part because I recalled such a short period of time. But then on the other hand, it might have been just that I was unconscious most of the time and became conscious either shortly after I was brought aboard or shortly after I was let off.
The sunlight is harsh, the air almost alien. You're lost, you're scared, and time has betrayed you. This was the bewildering reality that Travis Walton had to confront. Then came the inevitable investigation. The authorities, armed with their badges and a healthy dose of skepticism, began to dig into the strange tale. They questioned Travis, probed into his recollections, and scrutinized every detail of his story. They found no evidence of foul play, no signs of a hoax. But the story was too outlandish, too incredible to accept at face value. The world was not ready for a narrative like this, but here's the thing. In the midst of all this skepticism, all this disbelief, Travis Walton remained steadfast.
he thinks. Now, there is some small time loss in there, but for all intent and purposes, he spent 5 days on there. He did come in contact with some beings that are human-like, but they weren't humans.
Obviously, Dwayne, you know your own brother probably better than anybody else. Do you believe the story?
I've never seen him play a practical joke in his adult life.
His story didn't waver, his account didn't change. He was a man who had experienced something that defied explanation, something that challenged our understanding of reality. And so the investigation continued, the questions kept coming, and the skeptics kept doubting. Yet, through it all, Travis Walton stood his ground. He was a man marked by an experience that most would dismiss as a flight of fancy, but to him, it was as real as the air he breathed. But the most astonishing part of his story was yet to come. Walton claimed he had been abducted by extraterrestrials, a far-fetched story or a terrifying reality. Now this is where things get even more interesting. Travis Walton didn't just disappear and reappear without a story to tell. No, he claimed to have been taken aboard a spacecraft where he interacted with beings that were not of this world. Imagine this, being in the presence of humanoid beings that are not from Earth. Walton described them as shorter than the average human, with bald heads and large, compelling eyes. He claimed they wore bright orange suits, and communicated with him not through words, but through thoughts and images. A chilling account, isn't it? But wait, there's more. In an attempt to validate his extraordinary claims, Walton agreed to undergo polygraph tests. Now, for those unfamiliar with the term, a polygraph is a lie detector test. It measures physiological responses to determine whether someone is telling the truth or not. And guess what? Walton passed not just one, but multiple polygraph tests. This certainly added a layer of credibility to his claims and left many people, including skeptics, scratching their heads. However, this did not stop the controversy and skepticism surrounding his claims. Some people believed he had concocted an elaborate hoax for attention or financial gain. Others argued that the polygraph tests were not conclusive proof, given that they can be beaten with the right training. And then there were those who believed Walton, who empathized with his fear and bewilderment and wondered what they would have done in his shoes. So did Travis Walton truly experience an alien abduction, or was it all an elaborate hoax? In the end, only Walton knows the truth. But one thing is for sure, his story continues to intrigue, baffle, and spark debates to this day. Whether you believe in extraterrestrials or not, Walton's tale is a fascinating exploration of the unknown and the power of personal testimony.